The personal life story of Charles Cortland Hooper. Cort, for short, a modern-day pioneer. Self-narrated. If a movie were to document it, the title might be The Man, the Myth, the Mystery. For my life journey was unlikely as a frontier few would dare travel, but one unbelievably blessed life of a once simple man who complicated his life, confused his kids, and confounded his 2 wives over 50 years by pursuing 24 diverse vocations while providing quite a ride for those I loved, befriended, and joined me. Its is dedicated to all, my family, and its generations to come, prefaced on 2 thoughts. Your life is the sum of your experiences. Troc Repou, French philosopher, and the unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. This short story lifebook shares my sum in all its component parts. So, grab some popcorn and buckle your seatbelt as we start. Not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up, I got a BS in systems engineering, with high honors, and graduated #1 at UCLA. A MS in management sciences at the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School, and PhD in finance and human behavior from the United States International University from 1970 to 1975. With those in frames, I became a systems engineer, naval officer, rocket scientist, real estate and technology developer, capital strategist, author, investment advisor, serial entrepreneur. In essence, a man of many hats. This is my story in my own words at age 78. On my way to 100, the good Lord willing. This is not a professional biography, but rather my personal life story, a short 20-minute summary, if you will. If you have trouble sleeping, there is a 6x, 120-minute version, and a 45-minute Who's Who professional biography also on my YouTube channel under Cort Hooper. This is for those who need or want to know anything about the most blessed life I've been given by the good Lord. My kids and their downline, friends, acquaintances, and my cherished memories, in case at 78, some marbles start hitting the floor. A calling card if we have recently been introduced. My kids will have to suffer through the longer version. So this short personal story is not about the missiles designed, the billions arranged, riding the tip of the spear of high tech. Those come later. It starts by rolling back the curtain to get an overview of how it all began and the personal journey getting there. The Eagle Scout who became an honorary Shoshone tribal chief, the young man who showed up 3 times at the altar, alone, the father who adopted 4 children and raised 6 teenagers, the horseman who won world championships, the sailor of all 7 seas who named his yacht Endless, reflecting his blessings, the farmer who fished his Texas lake at sunrise and called it his happiest place on earth. The Cort Hooper you probably don't know fully. This is my life's extraordinary and blessed journey without a smartphone or GPS, so get some popcorn and share the memories I've packed for the big trip one day. Born of goodly parents, San Luis Obispo, 1948. On February 7th, 1948, I was dropped into the beautiful and quiet coastal town of San Luis Obispo, California. My father, Charlie, was a man of quiet strength. My mother, Sandra, the emotional center of our home that ran on discipline and warmth. Brother Brad would become a decorated police captain, indicating that whatever was in the water on South Harvard Street, it produced 2 special young men. I was the oldest by 3 years. The family settled in central Los Angeles, close enough to our grandparents on South Highland Avenue that the 2 households functioned as one. My grandmother, Wynette, my most beloved woman influencer in my world, maintained a summer mountain cabin in Idlewild, California called Fern Haven. Hand-hewn cedar logs, a walk-in rock fireplace, a stream past the side yard, and the quiet that makes a boy's mind like mine go very still. I have returned to that mountain again and again, eventually purchasing my own historic lodge and second home there as an adult. Some places mark you so early, you spend the rest of your life finding your way back. A bloodline of consequence. Before my story begins in earnest, the family born into deserves a moment. The genealogical record of the Hooper family is not simply impressive, it is foundational. A great-great-great-great-uncle William Hooper of North Carolina, was governor and one of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, the founding document of the nation I would one day defend with my own life, service, and sacrifice. The family tree includes Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, and Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of France. It includes 2 United States presidents and pioneer settlers who carved civilization out of the untraversed woods of the American South. Military heroes in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the Mexican-American War, and World War II. I arrived with 6 generations of extraordinary blood in my veins and an unspoken expectation in my mind that I would help carry that standard forward in some way. The boy, schools, scouts, and the shape of a champion. I've been told that from the very first days in school, I was the kind of student that teachers remember across careers. A young Sheldon with a 170 IQ. I attended Cahuenga Elementary School directly across the street from our family home, then John Burroughs Junior High around the corner from our grandparents' house. By the time reaching Los Angeles High School, the scale of what I was destined to was undeniable and developing in my mind. Graduated number 1 from a school of more than 1,500 students. The all-city colonel and battalion commander of the Army ROTC program, not just the top officer in school but in the entire city of Los Angeles among 40 high schools. A twice-lettered varsity athlete, commanded the precision military drill team to the regional championship, twice, and was doing all of this while already attending college classes at UCLA at the age of 16, riding the electric trolley car from home to campus and back. In the summers, I worked in Idlewild as a soda jerk, waiter, dishwasher, lifeguard, bowling pin setter, and skating rink manager. When in school, it was delivering newspapers by bike in the early morning before and selling them on street corners afterwards. No job was irrelevant to personal development, no hour wasted. And woven through all of it was the Boy Scouts, rising to Eagle Scout, then to the Vigil Honor, the highest award in the Order of the Aero Service Organization, then to Lodge Chief. I would eventually become a 3rd-generation Scoutmaster, carrying the tradition forward into my own son's generation. At 16, I was honored as an honorary Shoshone Native American tribal chief, a recognition of deep engagement with Native American culture through years of scouting. I would later be honored as an honorary Himalayan Gurkha warrior in India. 2 warrior traditions on opposite sides of the world, both acknowledging the same thing, a leader worth following. UCLA. Number 1, in a university of 35,000. At the University of California, Los Angeles, the ranked number 1 public university in the United States, I spent 5 years becoming the fullest version of what was underway, lettering in varsity athletics twice on 2 separate NCAA national championship teams, serving as president of Theta Xi fraternity and as president of the Interfraternity Council. Rated the number 1 naval midshipman in the entire nation out of more than 6,200 competing, including the Annapolis Naval Academy. And on graduation day, receiving Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineering with magna cum laude distinction. Designated the UCLA University Marshal, the number 1 graduate in a university of more than 35,000, and commissioned as an officer in the United States Navy. At 21 years old, having already been to India to work with the Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi, and performing folk songs before 500,000 people, just getting started with the first verse. The homes, a life measured in beautiful places. I did not merely buy and live in nice houses. They were shepherded, each one chosen with intention and inhabited with the full presence of one who understood that where you live is a reflection of what you value. At 27, with the proceeds of my first entrepreneurial year, the year becoming a millionaire, I purchased a 3-story ocean view home on Colony Hill in La Jolla, California, overlooking the Pacific and La Jolla Cove. It was, in a way, a statement of intent, a view pointed directly at the horizon, focusing on where I may be headed next. What followed was a sequence of ranches, estates, and working properties that traced the arc of a life lived with full intention, An 11-acre ocean view equestrian estate at Braemar Farms in Del Mar, California, where 148 horses once grazed and his children first grew up learning the education that comes from caring for animals larger than yourself. A 4,000-square-foot French provincial home in Garner Valley with horse facilities and a view across the valley where Bonanza was filmed. The 5-acre Rancho Pio Pico in Temecula, where most of the children were raised and 6 teenagers lived under one roof simultaneously. A 3-acre, 10,000-square-foot colonial estate in Murrieta with a reflection pool, dance pavilion, avocado orchard, and base lake. The volcano home in Tenaha, Oak Haven, perched at 3,000 feet among 400-year-old oak trees with a deck view down the Pacific coast all the way to Mexico. A 24,000-acre desert ranch in Lucerne Valley, purchased in 1990 for $6 million, later designated a National Historic Monument, with 2 base lakes, 7 natural springs, and no neighbors for 15 miles in any direction. It has been chronicled in history books, and then, at 65, after a heart attack and bypass surgery, I moved. From the rural climes of Southern California to 13 acres of piney woods farmland outside Winsboro, Texas. Willow Brook Farm. My happy place, where I fished the lake at sunrise, watched the horses graze at sunset, and worked the markets before breakfast. 4 generations of my extended family once lived there simultaneously. It was the most peaceful chapter of my life that had been anything but quiet. Toys and the full enjoyment of a life, earned the toys, came after the work, fruits from a labor of love, work, and play, passionately pursuing the interests of the moment and making them worthwhile to others. The 42-foot ocean yacht named Endless, purchased at 31, was the first and most symbolic, a vessel whose name said everything about its owner. Berthed as a life flag member at the San Diego Yacht Club, the prestigious America's Cup institution, for more than 45 years, while also a member of La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club and a founding member of Fairbanks Country Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California. The automobile collection tells a parallel story. A 1978 Mercedes 450 SL, a 1979 300 SD turbo diesel, a 2005 Range Rover HSE, a 2006 Mercedes 500 SL Roadster convertible, and a personal all-time favorite, a completely restored cherry red 1947 Willys show Jeep, transformed with my own hands. As a man who arranged billion-dollar transactions and who rebuilt a 70-year-old Jeep in the garage, the Jeep speaks louder than the financings ever could, and you could hear it coming down the street from a block away. Horses. The American Quarter Horse Association. If there is a single domain of personal achievement most remembered with unguarded pride and lasting memories, it is my equestrian career. 50 horses owned across a lifetime. 4 American Quarter Horse Association World Championships, 12 state championships, 48 regional championships. These were not blue ribbons at a county fair. They were national and world-level competitions against thousands of serious horsemen, demanding the kind of partnership between human and animal that takes years to build. It was also a special bond shared between husband and wife. My most beloved horse memory is Destiny, a majestic coal-black Friesian raised from a foal, the companion of my second marriage, photographed in the yard of our Murrieta mansion with her emotional support goat Gwendoline beside her, moving with the most graceful gait and trot one could imagine. Then Shiloh, the show stallion, was photographed on the first day of his life in the arms of one who understood that any first day is a remarkable thing. Then Blondie and Dagwood, Rhonda's first horses at the Garner Valley mountain home, whose names suggest both warmth and humor in equal measure. The horses were not status symbols. They were partners, companions, living systems that returned daily joy and love for daily care. The Road of Romance. The romantic chapters read like a great rom-com novel: hope, loss, unexpected reunion, and the courage to love again after being hurt. 2 college-era loves, Jane Wathen and Robin Ricketts, both agreed to marry 2 years apart. Neither appeared at the altar, Those wounds ran deep enough that when I met a stunning red-haired naval officer named Terry Ingram in Rhode Island in 1972, my heart was still too bruised to open. We were soon reassigned. Life took its separate turns. 52 years passed. My first marriage, to Carol Good, lasted 23 years. It ended not through any failure of love on my part, but because I discovered she had been harming some of the adopted children. I walked out with the children in tow, never looking back. There are no photographs from those 23 years. She destroyed all the records the day I left. At 49, I fell in love again, with a woman named Rhonda Brashear. She said yes and showed up. On December 12, 1998, at 50 years old, we married, certain of happily ever after for eternity. I gave her everything she desired: a mansion, her dream ranch, show horses, a Mercedes convertible, jewelry by the case, flowers by the bucket, and all with all of my heart. 25 years of a life built together on ranches and horses and holidays and genuine mutual love. The marriage ended in 2024 in grief and confusion. And then, early the next year in 2025, Rhonda died of brain cancer. I honor the 25 good years. During divorce proceedings in October of 2024, his son Matthew found a weathered 1998 letter in a cardboard box, Terry Ingram's letter, speaking across 26 years. I had searched for her over the years after parting and in between my two marriages, failing after hundreds of hours of effort. His daughter Tiffany found her in minutes. We reconnected. 2 weeks together in Florida in early 2025 answered the question I had carried since Rhode Island. Too much water under the bridge, but a lifelong dear friend found. I thought I still felt the embers, but accepted what the good Lord had always intended. A few months later, at 77, with my daughter's help and a Match.com profile, found someone new, narrowing 108 likes to 1 in a couple short weeks. The good Lord presented me with Carol Powell, a spiritual, bright, fun, engaging, retiring 78-year-old widowed beauty who really liked to cook and was fantastic at it. We fell hard and fast and knew then it would last. We wanted to grow old together and dance until the end of love. We married high-tech online and settled into the plantation in Leesburg, Central Florida. Family. The children who chose and loved me back. Of all of my 110 documented lifetime achievements, the one considered first is the simplest and the most costly. I showed up. For 4 abused and abandoned children who needed a home, I showed up completely. Raising them through adolescence on working ranches in Del Mar, Temecula, and Lucerne Valley. I coached their sports, maintained horse farms for their love of animals, and when my first wife began hurting them, I left, taking the children in tow, because a person of character does the right thing even when it costs them everything. My youngest son, Mark, carries my name forward, middle-named Cortland. Daddy's girl daughter, Tiffany, found Terry Ingram in minutes after I had failed for years. My oldest son, Matthew, who shares many of my intellectual curiosities, found the letter that reopened a 52-year door through which I walked into Florida and found love again with Carol, also due to Tiffany and Terry. These children I chose me back, and contributed in ways that mattered more than I expected. Through Rhonda, I had 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren and 4 generations that once lived together at Willowbrook Farm. Through Carol and her family in Florida, I replenished what I left and lost in Texas, only much better. Go figure, but I've also been chosen to serve as best man at 7 weddings. That number, 7, is perhaps the clearest single indicator of people wanting me standing beside them at the most important moment of their lives. For that, I've always been grateful, thankful, and blessed. Animals, the fun and furry family. At every home ever lived in, there were animals. Horses on the ranches, the guard dog Griffey Bear at Willowbrook Farm, the great Pyrenees named Willow who gave the farm its name, Ranger the cat, who ruled the household while the dogs drooled, chickens at the Tenaha Volcano home, ducks, swans, and snow geese on the Base Lakes at the Old Woman Springs Historic Desert Ranch. And at Willowbrook and Lake Bob Sandlin, the wildlife that came with 13 acres of East Texas pastures and lakefront, bald eagles fishing at sunrise, northern cardinals in brilliant red at the feeder, blue jays and nuthatches and chickadees and mockingbirds, and the squirrels who staged daily raids on the back deck peanut supply with a boldness he photographed and captioned with great affection. This is a holdup. The animals were never accessories. They were family. The GPPD Lord surrounding us with love. World travels. 7 seas and more travels have included 24 countries, most continents, and all 7 seas, visiting all 7 wonders of the modern world, scaling the tallest peaks in the lower United States more than a dozen times each. My first international experience was the most dramatic, as a 21-year-old naval officer dispatched to India, performing folk songs before 500,000 people on Independence Day and advising the Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi. That assignment calibrated my view of and relationship to the world permanently. Every culture, every civilization, every wonder is accessible to anyone willing to show up with curiosity and respect. At 61, Rhonda and I sailed the Nile River in Egypt on a luxury cruise, visited the pyramids at Giza, toured the Parthenon in Athens, sailed the Greek islands, explored Geneva and Dubai. 2 years earlier, I observed the Panama Canal, the engineering marvel of interlocking ocean locks connecting 2 seas, while establishing a Panamanian business corporation in 2006. Travel, for me, was never tourism. It was a priceless education. It was the act of putting one's self in the story of something larger than yourself and allowing it to change you. It always did. What others have said. Perhaps the most honest measure of any person is what those who knew them say when they are not in the room. In my case, the record spans 60 years and is remarkably and proudly consistent. High school classmates wrote in our 1965 yearbook, "Dear humble aristocrat, it has been an honor and a privilege knowing you, but a ball of fun as well. Without a doubt, you are the finest young man I have ever known. I really should hate you for winning all those awards, but I don't. You deserved everyone. You are my best friend and have done more for me than anyone." 55 years later, more than 500 of those same classmates have posted the same on my profile, with the same cluster of words: soft-spoken, charming, kind, admired, modest, clever. My military superiors wrote, "Limitless potential, invaluable asset." Never worked with a more dedicated and sincere junior officer. He inspires all who know him and has contributed more than anyone to this command. His lifelong friend Merrill Moses put it most vividly, "Cort, you are a treasure. It's your face that should be on Mount Rushmore. Your smile, your optimism, your warmth, and your sincerity inspire all whom you meet." This humble aristocrat, as my classmates named me in 1965, has worn that title with these quiet distinctions for over 60 years. The lessons of a life fully lived. At the end of 8 extraordinary decades, I do not catalog the achievements when reflecting on what I've learned. I catalog the blessings, the California sunshine and beauty where I grew up, the parents who believed in me and gave me my head, the grandmother's mountain cabin, the Navy that forged me in fire, the children who chose me back, the horses, the lake at sunrise, the faith that held everything together when everything else was falling apart, and always the one regret that a love he gave himself to completely on 3 occasions had to end before it could come to full bloom. My philosophy for those hearing this or who come after: educate your children to be happy and have a good heart, not to be rich. See the glass half full, because the alternative is no fun. Don't walk fast alone. Walk farther together. The secret to having it all is knowing you already do. Be humble. Be kind. Be someone's difference. My own summary of my whole enterprise of life is, characteristically, with a grin and a question mark. Who's crazy enough to live a life like that? I think the good Lord wisely threw away the mold, having stress tested how much a person could really handle when he assigned me a billet on earth. I mean it. I also mean the 9 words I coined that tie every chapter of his personal life story together. The words that explain the Eagle Scout and the Goodwill Ambassador and the adoptive father and the horseman and the farmer and the best man at 7 weddings, all at once. Kindness is just love with its military boots on. I've tried to live that every single day. And from the evidence of 60 years of independent witnesses, classmates, military superiors, professional colleagues, lifelong friends, and 7 best man requests, I may have succeeded as I've always prayed to. The legacy and lessons from my forefathers. I expect my children to be keepers of this flame with their own families and friends. So, if you are one or were with me in any part of this long and beautiful trail ride through God's forests, ride on, and with my thanks and gratitude for your participation, companionship, or love. You have contributed to my life as I also hope I have contributed to yours.